You guys have really exhausted all of white people's charity. White people are very charitable. We are the most charitable people on the planet. And I don't say this with hate in my heart, but I don't know a single white person that has routinely helped black people on a regular basis that hasn't gotten burned from it or given black people opportunity. I don't. They always steal something or call you racist or, and I mean this with love. I don't mean this in a mean way, but white people are fatigued. We're exhausted. We are tired. We are so tired. Borrow money. They don't pay it back. White people have done a lot of good for society. And I think that's very much overlooked because my entire life, I would always hear about how evil white men were and how white men are just the root of all evil. And the interesting thing is white men have always been the most charitable to me. They're like white men. And especially if you talk to a really smart white guy, they're like a different breed of human. They can fix anything. They can think through any problem. They don't get angry. I mean, why do you think women, they go for like the Daquans, Tyrese, the drug dealer black guy? It's because, it's too boring dating a white guy. He's going to be so stable. He's just going to get things done. They're so positive. Like, they're just naturally positive people. White men. And I'm not saying white people don't have their problems. I could really talk. I could talk about white people's issues, white men don't have the ability to tell their wife no, pretty much ever. They will assist in their white wife's, they're yes guys because they're too busy. They're too busy working. Why do you think the black women are like, we're going to try to swirl? There's this new trend of black women dating white guys because white guys are so chill. They're just chill. All they want to do is just work. They want to work. You ask a white guy, like, what's his social life? He'll say social life. That's for, and I don't mean this. I think white guys could actually benefit from this. Black people, I'm sorry. You guys still are double. You guys are 20 to 25%. You're 13% of the population. For your size, you're still double. You can't come out. We're below what percent of the population we are. You guys are still double. Even, it's crazy. Even when you point out a white crime, you've still managed to outcrime us. It's so crazy. It's, even if we go into school, let's see, because that's always they say, what percent of mass shooters are white? I'm grokking this, so take it with a grain of salt. 50%. So we're actually less percentage of mass shooters. Like, we're 60% of the U.S. population, according to this. And we're a lower percentage of mass shooters. Black people, I'm sorry. You guys still are double. You guys are 20 to 25%. You're 13% of the population. For your size, you're still double. You can't come out. We're below what percent of the population we are. I've said this before. I have a lot of love for black people. There are things that I love about black people are disproportionately white. Is it going to be over what percent we are of the population? What percent? I could be. I'm going to find out today. What are the demographic breakdowns? Sorry, Doug MPA. You guys still are double. For your 13% of the population. You are 25 to 30% of the sex offenders. We're about white consistently shows 50 to 60% of sex offenders are white, which is about what we are of the population. Hispanics are low. I guess you guys are not sex offenders. Good job, Hispanics. Good job. It's so crazy. I can't even talk about black crime without having to talk about white crime. It's like women. We can't ever talk about women. And then I'll debunk it. I'll go through and say, let's see, is it a higher percentage? Now we're getting into serial killing. Well, how common is serial killing? Is that even that's the most rare crime of all the crime. They're like, white people dominate the very most rare crime.
I want to give All the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this faith. Shalom to you, few sisters, sincere ones. Shalom to the elect. So where am I going to go with this video? This woman that doesn't seem to be able to catch a tan, right? I'll keep it clean. She says white people are exhausted and tired of black people. Now, she doesn't say some black people from what I hear, so I guess it's all of us. She said 50% of crime is created by black people, although they're 13% of the population, which these people are clearly in ignorance. You got Sicilians, you got Irish, you got other white populations that you can conclude in our population that are Israelites, right? Who also commit crime, right? So, but we're going to get into is the so-called white man's lie, right? I mean, hell, he stole Jesus. He stole David. You know, he stole Solomon. I mean, the racism, they stole all the images. They stole all the inventions, right? We can go on and on the thievery that this man has. But this is the scripture I want to read real quick. This is Proverbs 30 and 20, right? Such a way as an adulterous woman, she eateth and wipeth her mouth and say, I have done no wickedness. So she eateth and wipeth her mouth and say, I have done no wickedness. So when you go to the history, and this same woman that is a red pill queen, so to speak, who condemns feminism, although her people is the one that created that. Her people is the one that created everything and all the sicknesses and everything that you see happening today. GMO foods and everything else. And then come and say, well, look, we're the peacemakers. All you got to do is follow and bow down under us. As a nation, clearly you can't take a people from different parts of the world, claim you civilized them, destroyed the Native Americans, Taino Indians, right? Which they had their own healthcare system, all of them, so that we lived off the earth, we lived off the land, we had everything, right? But the Lord, Yahweh, is the one gave us up into the hand of these demons, right? And then they say, look, we've done you a good service. Well, guess what? Deuteronomy 30:7, the captivity is going to return on you. Your own white people is going to come down on you, and your own white people are going to be out marching, right? And so-called black people have no business out there marching for this demon anyway. But I'm speaking for the elect, right? As Israelites, we're not going to be out there marching. Proverbs 30:20, such a way as an adulterous woman, right? All the sickness as a nation, right, that you've done. And then she eateth and wipeth her mouth and say, look, I've done no wrong. Yeah, all right. You're going to see. You know, like I said, a lot of these red pill people, this guy Fugazi, and I forgot the other weirdo name. Damn, I can't remember his name. Ringo TV, they want to say he's the best at this. They're all weird. They reach a point that it doesn't benefit anymore. So then they jump and then they try to make another controversial video to draw in more of the viewers. I guess if the population in her mind is 13%, she want the bigger population to her viewer content. I don't know. This is the same woman that said slavery wasn't that bad. Yeah, when Isaiah 14 happened, we'll see if that's the case then, all right? Double unto her according to her works. Yeah, we'll see about that. Habakkuk 2:2. The Lord answered me and said, write a vision and make it plain upon the table, right? That he may run to readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end shall speak and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, whom desire enlargeth his desire as hell, and is death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all peoples. Right? And this is what we see happen. So what we're going to do, we're going to slide over here to some Google, since she went into Google. Let's go to Google. Now, when you look at the history of EBT, food stamps, we know who it was originally for. It wasn't for us anyway. You spoiled a particular people, broke them down to nothing, gave them these handouts, and then the very thing she speaks against is feminism. And through feminism, it didn't destroy her families like it destroyed our families. The main goals was to separate the so-called black families. We had less to offer, right? And then when that happened, you know, then through media, social media, and everything else, through our music, our programming, you have the woman that says, we don't need a man. The hell with him. You better have a job. You better make some money. And then they put this philosophy out there in the community, and now look at us. And now the black woman is going to start saying, well, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. We've been duped. Anyway, y'all been going on too long. And let me say this too. There's so-called black people that are tired of black people too. There's white people who are tired of white people. You know what I'm saying? But as much as they call us racist, then here you see it. I don't know why this woman is not on the ADL. Maybe she's not talking about a particular people. And I guess that racist group of particular people only is acknowledged through racism and have a channel or network set up for themselves, I guess. So anyway, throughout the 1900s, dozens of massacres of black people were carried out by white mobs in the United States. So quite a few of them, I remember. They took children, locked them in schools, set it on fire, and they died in those schools, right? They literally died in those schools. They chained the doors, and these people, these young children died. You know, and I would say it's hard for so-called black women at that time or over the generations to say, well, we need to hate this person, because through all that corruption and death and destruction, here comes the white man. Here comes EBT. We can help you eat. They didn't really give a damn about you eating. They just needed you to get rid of your husband. That's what Section 8, when you look at Section 8, it really means crazy, right? It's a term used in the military. I know some brothers in the military know that. Anyway, let's go on down to something. In the 1900s, the New Orleans massacre, right? How the hell were we supposed to come up and be something? When you look at the Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe when they built their property on a white man's lawn, so to speak, and a white woman again said that one of the so-called black men touched them, and then the black man retaliated, and they came with mobs and bombed down the goddamn all their businesses. Is there a secret that you would rather have Chinese people in the neighborhoods than our own people? Yeah, is there any secret? Is that some form of conspiracy? Anyway, white mobs attacked and killed black people across New Orleans following failed arrest attempts of a black man named Robert Charles. Newspaper coverage inflamed racial tensions, and the violence lasted for several days, resulting in many casualties and injuries. And by the way, they never tell you the truth of how many casualties they were. To this day, they won't tell you, right? 1906, the Atlanta race massacre. I'm not even going to read all these. The Springfield race riot in 1908. 1910, the Slocum massacre. I read on that in Texas. The Anthony Crawford lynching. Oh, by the way, is she still talking about there was 4 lynchings in this year alone? Nothing about that. Yeah, okay. There's some Hispanics got lynched too, by the way. And by the way, yeah, they committed suicide. These black men decided, well, you know what? So-called black men, you know what? I'm tired of life. I'm going to get a rope, put it around my neck, and I'm going to hang it on the tree, and jump from the tree and hang myself. Isn't that the reason why they hung us anyway? Because our people wouldn't want to do that? We know that story of Judas Iscariot, but anyway. The Red Summer Massacre, the Charleston South Massacre, the Washington, D.C. Massacre. This is still in the 1900s, the Knoxville Massacre, the Elaine Massacre. I did a video on this, and the Tube took it down. All I did was play what was in the documentary, and they said it was too harsh to leave up. Couldn't believe it, but they took it down. In rural Arkansas, white mobs, federal troops murdered hundreds of black sharecroppers. Yeah, what happened there? When they so-called freed slaves, then they pushed them out. They had nowhere to go. Then they created vagrancy laws. They had the sharecrop, was put back in slavery with their masters. Then the ones that didn't, who couldn't get anywhere, the survival instinct kicked in, so they did whatever they felt they needed to do. Then they started making laws and shipping all the Jake in the prison, just like they did with the crack cocaine, right? When they took the powder cocaine and made it cool for white people, didn't get much of a charge, but then you rock it up, now it's manufacturing. Although it's manufactured coming in here from the country, out of the country. Yeah, you know, this is what it is. The Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921, Rosewood Massacre, the Detroit Massacre, and let's say the biggest massacre that we know today, the rap music massacre, which her people have set up and funded and made people sign contracts to produce this rap garbage that was going to create genocide. And no, genocide is not on the list of the ADL. Yeah, okay. We can go on and on about this madness. Micah 2:1, woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. So we see, we can go on and on for hours, how this man has taken a nation of people. Remember what Cristobal Colon did to the Taino Indians? And he leaves, and they rape some of their women, and the men retaliate, and then they come and say, well, yeah, let's kill everybody. These same people who build nuclear missiles, man. These same people who build nuclear missiles that could destroy billions. But white people are the nicest people on the planet. These YNs and this gangster rap and gangbangers was created by your people. Yep. Black culture was created by white culture. You're the ones created that. You're the ones pushed that energy and then made it a black and white thing. And really a lot of these was Israelites fighting one another. And it just looked, they just used that whiteness to say it was white. When you look at the Sicilians and all them, and then there's people on the comment board, Muslims too, and so forth and so on. You people have the nerve to go around and steal everything that you own. Then come and say, hey, it's all peace now and it's all good. Let's get Luke, was it Daniel? Let's go to Daniel 8:25. And through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. How did he do this with the Native Americans? Well, we can Google it. They claim that 300 treaties was broken, the white man broke with the Native Americans. 300, which is all of them. But you know what I found out? It was more like 1,000. And they're still breaking them today. They're still breaking treaties. This man is a liar and a thief. But what he's what he's managed to do is make bring everybody up under him, as I read Habakkuk 2, bring everybody up under him and say, well, you follow us. We got the treaties. We'll take care of you. We'll look out for you. And then you know what happened? We see the parent plan hoods, right? We see all the guns in the world in the streets. but we don't see the gun shops. Yeah, we see all the drugs in the hood. There's never made in the drugs in the hood. None of these drug factories are made in the hood. Then they go on with the opioids, the pills. So I guess the black man created those goddamn oxycontins too, oxycodones. Yeah, he created that too. He created the GMO food. He created high levels of cancer, right? He created that garbage liquor. Yeah, anyway. And through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, right? And by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hands. See, when the Lord comes back, right, all the trickery Esau has done, because that's who you are, you're Edomites. All the trickery you've done, you literally destroyed nations, as I read Habakkuk 2. You brought people, blacks over here, so-called blacks, Native Americans, but mainly so-called blacks over here on the slave ships and on them brutal slave ships of torture. And you destroyed them. You raped them. You knocked out their teeth to make them drink. And this woman says slavery wasn't that bad. Yeah, let's get a scripture real quick. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to say the same thing. The scripture said in Revelation 18, double unto her according to her works. And to the cup she had filled to her double. Her double. Right? Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Right? Anyway, this is Jeremiah 30, and we're going to drop down to 16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, every one of them. And they that spoil thee shall be for a spoil, and all they prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So this creation of the black woman, EBT queens, welfare queens, which, by the way, more white people on welfare than black people, but these so-called black spoiled people, these are the children of Israel. And because you did this to the children of Israel, you're going to have to pay for that. You created these situations and forced these people, or let me say, coerced these people to be this way. And when they turn out wild maniacs, then you come in and say, look, see, these are some crazed people. Meanwhile, you're the crazed people, right? You're the one that removed their parents. This same woman talks about feminism, and that feminism, which was created by the so-called white man, is the biggest problem of why the so-called black woman who was beguiled by Eve, right? That's why the black feminist is worse than the white feminist. You see what I'm saying? Because they still kept their husbands. And not only that, they still have a system they can identify with. Not us. We don't have a system we can identify with. Barack Obama is not our people. He's of another nation. But he was a puppet too. Anyway, it's what it is. It's what it is. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and say, I have done no wickedness. Let me read this if I haven't read it again. Woe to them that devise iniquity, that's evilness, lawlessness, and work evil upon their beds. Now, this woman also talked about, let me say this real quick, pedophiles, or let me say sexual registry, the biggest part of the population. Our heritage in general, when you stole us, before you stole us and brought us over here, women was 12, 13 years old. When they came on their period, they were women. But through population, which we see here, a lot I can't say, they'll use that and use the so-called resources. Have you ever flown across the country and seen all the open land? Yeah, that's why it's called traffic control. They need to know. This is why you have a census. But coming here, if a man was 21 and he messed with a 15-year-old woman, oh, they put him on a sexual registry list. Right? Yeah, this is what they did. That wasn't our culture. Wasn't our heritage. And I talk to people in the world that don't even know the truth. I talked to a 79-year-old man 2 days ago. And he said, yeah, I know that. You know how many people really know that? It was our heritage. It was our culture. And what we've learned is we learn from the white man. So when you see all the trash in the neighborhoods and they blame us, well, how about that floating city of trash that's flying in the ocean? Well, what about the trash space? So anything that we do that's detrimental to this society, the so-called white man has done thousands and hundreds of thousands of times worse. As they say, for God's sakes, Trump is opening up the nuclear testing program. You think you had cancer then? That's all I have on that. Shalom.